my colleague Israel Sunday. We both of FIC. Both of us are going to coordinate this. Can we just give people 5 more minutes to join, so that we are not rewarding latecomers unnecessarily? Let's just give 5 more minutes. Whoever joins us will join us later. Thank you. Tokyo Development as a microfinance trainer after I completed the microfinance training, trained the trainers. He's also certified by the Chambers of Bankers of Nigeria as a microfinance banker. He's a member of among other institutions, he's a member of the Chartered Management Institute London, Association of Enterprise Risk Management Professionals, AERMP Nigeria, and his area of competencies include financial inclusion, among others. He has served as Executive Secretary, CEO of the Association of Non-Bank Microfinance Institutions of Nigeria under the auspices of IFAD and FGN Rural Finance Institution Building Program. He's been Executive Secretary, CEO of National Cooperative Financing Agency of Nigeria. He's been Financial Secretary of Abuja Cooperative Federation and the Chairman of Abuja Cooperative Financing Agency. Our facilitator this morning, very experienced, has served as a member of Central Bank of Nigeria Financial Inclusion Technical Committee, Microfinance Advisory Board, the National Microfinance Policy Consultative Committee, is the Chairman Roofing CBN NASA Loan Appraisal Committee, and the Central Bank of Nigeria 2022 Billion Micro, Small and Medium Enterprise Funding Steering Committee. And he was part of the team that put together the curriculum for agency banking. This morning, we have to talk to us, to take us through agency banking law and regulations, Dr. God bless Friday Safuka. He's a director of FIC. He's also a well-experienced development finance practitioner. Ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to invite Doctor to do what he does best. And I'm sure at the end of the day, we would have seen that the first course is not really a big deal by the time he goes with us, and we just do a bit of reading. So I'd like to invite Dr. God bless Friday Safuga to give his paper. Thank you. I also would like to say, please, before he starts, I'd like to say, please, if you are not speaking or asking questions, can you please mute yourself? That is the only way we can enjoy the presentation. Please.
Can we have the name again, please?
Can please mute yourself if you are not speaking. His name is Dr. God bless Safuga. Dr. God bless Safuga. And I'm sure he will tell you if I don't pronounce it, he will pronounce it much better. He's an expert in agency banking. In fact, he wrote the what you are reading as a study pack. And so he's just going to summarize it to make it easy for you to pass the exams on the 8th and 9th. So okay. Over to you, sir.
All right. Good morning, Mr. Shinobu, for that wonderful introduction. At the point, I was wondering, who is he trying to introduce? And then later I realized that I was the one. Thank you. And also I'm seeing Mojishola Garba. She has been an old friend, an old professional colleague. We've been in this industry for decades. Madam, I'm glad to see you here on this agency banking platform. The industry is quite small. Somehow, everybody knows each other. So I'm going to, if you allow me, I'm going to share my screen to to show you the presentation. Can I go ahead, sir?
Yes, sir, you can share screen, sir.
Okay. Can you see my screen now?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Please let me know if it's on a slide mode now.
Yes, sir, it is, sir.
Okay, okay. So, my dear participants, I want to welcome you to this session. And it's a 2-hour session. I'm sure within 1 hour, 30 minutes, we should be able to finish the session, and then we will have enough time to take your questions. And if you have any concerns regarding the exam, we can have those conversations. Please pardon my voice. I've been struggling with cold for some few days now, but I'm sure I will cope through. Okay, so let's begin. This is the learning objective for this training. Normally, such training is supposed to be interactive, where in the course of the conversation, we raise issues, we discuss them, and then we treat them together, probably have breakout sessions, have conversations around it, let the learning actually take place. But fortunately, we have only 2 hours, and it's a virtual class, so we are not able to go through that. So it's going to be more of lecture rather than proper facilitation. So I will do most of the speaking. Unfortunately, I will do most of the speaking while you take notes. And if you have any questions to ask at the end of the day, I will put them together and take them. And I'm also glad that the meeting is being recorded so that students can go back and listen to the recording in case certain areas are not clear. So the learning objectives. At the end of this module, you will gain a comprehensive understanding of the regulatory framework governing agent banking in Nigeria. A lot of times, we, the agent bankers, feel that we don't really care to know much about regulation. But any industry where you're operating, even if you're operating at the lowest level of the agency banking structure, it's key, it's very important for you to understand the regulation around agency banking. And that's what you're going to learn today. And number 2, you acquire the knowledge to navigate the licensing process for agent banking. Again, some of you don't have to go for license, but it's important you understand the license procedure. That will build your capacity as an agent banker and also help you to pass the exam. Who knows, tomorrow you want to become a super agent and you may require license from the central bank. And then number 3, you'll be able to familiarize yourself with critical definitions in agent banking. We'll be able to define things like sub-agents, financial institutions, and the rest of them. This will be, discussed in detail, but we can't be talking about regulation within the agency banking and not talk about those key concepts and define them clearly. And number 4, you should be able to develop expertise in identifying and mitigating risks associated with agent banking. And this includes fraud prevention measures, dispute resolution, and the rest of them. This aspect also, you will learn more in other courses during this training. So we will just touch a little of it. I'm sure there's a course on risk management. So we will not dwell deep into it, but we will just touch it as it regards regulation. And then you also gain insights into promoting consumer protection by ensuring consumer rights, transparency, pricing, and all of that. Consumer protection is key. The CBN has a consumer protection department, and customers have the rights to report issues, and once you have some infractions, you know what it means. Maybe you are not visible to the CBN, but the bank that is promoting you or the super agent that is responsible or that give you that POS might have some fines to pay, and that will, at the end of the day, affect your own transaction or your own business as an agent banker. So these are the things that we will learn in the next 1 hour, 20 minutes or 1 hour, 30 minutes, as the case may be. So I want to believe that all of you have gone through the study pack, that's the agency banking laws and regulation, before this class, because that will help, so that after this class, you just go back and do some review and you are ready for the exam. And I also want to let you know that the exams are not difficult. It's only difficult for those who do not study, but for as many as have gone through this study pack, there's no question that you'll not be able to answer. All the questions are extracted from the study pack. So this is not WAEC where you say, hey, we were not taught, or the syllabus is not taught. No, everything you need to pass the exams is inside the study pack. And at the end of every chapter of the study pack, you will see questions, practice questions that you can answer. If you're able to answer those practice questions, then trust me, you will pass that exam at a single sitting. Now, normally the questions I would have asked you is, what is your understanding of agency banking? You know, what about agency banking regulation? How does it apply to your business? This presentation will explore the legal foundation underpinning agency banking operations. Yeah, but I don't expect you to respond now, because if you're mute, the place will be chaotic. But I'm sure at the end of the day, we should be able to answer some of those key questions, because I know you're already operationals in the field. So these basic questions are things that you already know. So to answer our first question, what's agency banking? Agent banking, like you can see on the screen, is a decentralized model that fosters accessibility and affordability of financial services for the unbanked and unbanked population. What does that mean? That means what you are doing is agency banking. It's decentralized. It means that you don't have to go to a commercial bank branch, you know, a brick and mortar branch to do financial transaction. You know, it fosters accessibility, means that everybody, even in the rural community, can have access to financial services. Last week, I was coming back from Niger, and we stopped by the roadside to buy yam, and we were not having cash. And the guy just pointed somewhere that the next community, which is just like 1 kilometer away, they have a POS. And we drove down there, we made the payment, 52,000 naira, and they charged us 400 naira for that, sorry, 500 naira for that transaction. And that was it. So just imagine maybe like 10, 15 years ago, we would have gone to Mina, which would be like 50, 60 kilometers to be able to carry out that transaction. So it's accessible and it's affordable. For 500 naira for a 52,000 transaction, if you want to travel from that place to Mina, of course, maybe you pay like 2,500 on your way going, 2,500 to come back just to withdraw 52,000 naira. So that's agency banking. And the second paragraph says it operates through non-banking entities that uses mobile devices and point of sales. I'm not going to dwell on that because that is what you're already doing. So there's no point dwelling much on that. Now, what's the legal basis? The legal foundation of agent banking in Nigeria is firmly established in the CBN Act of 2007, which is the Banks and Other Financial Institutions Act, which is popularly referred to as BOFIA. Now, it is this legislative framework that empowers the Central Bank of Nigeria to issue guidelines. So anytime CBN wants to come up with a new system, especially like agency banking, microfinance, you know, all the CBN need to do is to hinge on the BOFIA law, and based on that empowerment by that act, they can come up with guidelines and regulations to ensure that financial services are the way they should, you know, that the public is able to get good financial services, and then the banks are also ethical in their operations, and the financial system as a whole has some level of sanity. It's not chaotic. Now, we want to look at certain key definitions. One is agency banking. I've already defined that, so I don't have to go back to it. The next one is super agents. This is key for us as operators. Super agents is usually a higher level of agency banking because we have the agents and we have the super agents. In this context, the central bank usually issue license to super agents to operate, and it is the responsibility of those super agents to recruit other agents that will work under them. So the way the structure works is that you have the financial institutions who are the owners of the service. They are the ones licensed by the Central Bank of Nigeria, to accept deposits, grant loans, and perform other financial services. Now, the super agents are licensed to be agents to multiple financial institutions. And then those super agents can also recruit agents under them to be able to provide services to people at the bottom of the pyramid. Then agents, in this context, we're not talking about house agents now. In the context of agency banking, agent could be an individual, could be a company, that is authorized by either a financial institution or a super agent to provide specific services on behalf of that financial institution or the super agents that have recruited them. So, like you already know, of course, most of you are agents. Agents could be a small shop. It could be those under the umbrella, different kinds of, it could be a filling station, supermarket, and all of that. But what this agency banking training is trying to do is to ensure that we have agents that are standardized. We need to distinguish between the umbrella agents and a well-structured agent that can provide multiple services on behalf of the bank. And that is why this license, this exam is very important so that you become certified and you can carry out more services. Today, the banks are willing to allow agents to perform more services, but a lot of agents have messed up the industry, that even the services allowed by some banks before, the banks decide to withdraw it because they don't want fines from the central bank. So if we have a pool of agents that are well-trained, at the end of the day, most of those services, agents will be able to perform them. Then we have the sub-agents. Sub-agents are agents who work under agents. For example, you as an agent, you have 3 other agents or 3 other outlets working under you, so this becomes your sub-agent. For financial institutions, we've already discussed them. These are the commercial banks, the OPs, the money points. Any institution that have that license from the central bank, which allows them to accept deposits, it's a financial institution in this context. Please don't forget, if you have any question, just note it down because we will now have the opportunity to be taking your questions as we proceed. Now let's look at agent banking regulators. Who are the people or who are the institutions that are regulating the industry? Basically, we have the Central Bank of Nigeria and the Nigerian Communications Commission. The central bank's responsibility is to formulate guidelines, like I said, based on the powers vested on them on the BOFIA law. They are able to formulate guidelines, issues license, and monitor compliance. And if you fail to comply, they bring the stick. Then on the other hand, we have the Nigerian Communications Commission, and that's because transactions are carried out through telecoms. So the Nigerian Communication Commission regulates the communication infrastructure that supports the digital services. But to a large extent, it is the CBN that is directly responsible for the activities of the agents. We will quickly look at the agency banking relationship. That is, what are the relationships that exist within the agency banking ecosystem, particularly between the financial institutions and the agents. The first one is appointment and authorization. As an agent, there are processes you have to go through. Let me spare us the entire process, but because all of you have gone through that process to become agents. But for the purpose of this class, for you to become an agent, the financial institutions must appoint you and authorize you to carry out those specific financial services on their behalf. So if we want to go by the process or by the law, this appointment will include a thorough evaluation of the agent's suitability to know if you have the capacity. I'm talking about the financial capacity. You're supposed to bring your bank statement. There are a lot of steps that you're supposed to go through, which some of them are still adhering to. But again, some service providers or some financial institutions are in a hurry to expand their agent network. So some of those processes are not carefully taken. But whether they do it or not, the financial institutions must appoint and authorize the agent. Then the scope of service. The agent banking relationships delineates the scope of financial services that agents are authorized to provide. They don't just give you POS or a device or a platform for you to go and operate. It has to be clearly defined to say what you can do is cash in, cash out, funds transfers, bill payment, account opening. So those services will be clearly defined. And then technology integration. As an agent banker, you have to integrate your POS or mobile app to the technology provided by the financial institution. And then the compensation structure is also clear, that for every transaction you carry out, this is what your compensation will be. This is what you should charge the customer and all of that. In fact, in the agency banking agreement between the agent and the financial institution, there's usually a table, either within the appendices or in the body of the agreement that shows the compensation structure. Though we have seen it out there that beyond the compensation structure, many agents just charge whatever they want. I could withdraw 10,000 from an agent A, they would charge me 200 naira, and I would withdraw the same amount from agent B, and he would charge me 400 naira, using the same type of service. So even though there are regulations, unfortunately, it is the compensation structure is driven by the forces of demand and supply, willing buyer, willing seller, which is okay. And then compliance and training. It is important for the financial institutions to always train the agents to comply with regulatory guidelines. If the agents fail to comply, then it will affect the financial institutions. And in the other way, it will also affect the super agents if there's a super agent in between. However, technology has made this compliance very easy. All the financial institutions need to do is to put in some restrictions so that the agent banker cannot go beyond certain things. So technology has really helped in terms of compliance. But in terms of training, today we are having training for you, but the financial institutions are supposed to provide training and retraining of their customers, either through Zoom or physically if they can. Then risk management and security measures. Even though it is the banks that have the risk management framework, Agency banking is a very risky business. We've seen a lot of frauds taking place within the agency banking space. So it's expected that the financial institutions and the agents will collaborate to be able to ensure that security measures are taken seriously. There are safeguards against fraud, against security breaches, and operational risk. Then monitoring and reporting, it is also critical for agents to have a logbook where they report all their transactions, report suspicious transactions. We know through technology, again, the banks can, at the click of a button, download all agent transactions and see if there are abnormalities. That's possible, but we also have the manual reporting system where the agents report consistently to the financial institution, and the financial institution also reports to the central bank. There are specific indicators that the central bank is always looking at. And I'm sure towards the end of this lecture, we will take a look at some of those metrics that the banks will comply with. And then customer service relationship management. Unfortunately, most of the agents fall short in this area. We don't take customer service as anything. We just feel that we are roadside, like roadside mechanics, sorry to say, where customer service is non-existent. And that is why those of you that are attending this class is going to be different. The way you approach customer service will be different, and that will stand you out from the regular agents. Because as an agent, you are the face of the financial institution. So it is very important, for you to maintain that positive relationship in addressing issues. Somebody carry out a transaction and the transaction fails, and they come to you. So I better go to your bank. The money no dey for inside my wallet again, Instead of supporting, I said, okay, let me make a call. Oh, we are sorry. The way you talk to someone, even though you really don't have control over that transaction, the money is not with you. You sympathize with them. You encourage them to go to their bank and tell them to call to let you know whatever the outcome in the bank is. You are also trying to contact your bank from this end so that together you'll be able to resolve that issue. This doesn't take much effort. It's just being courteous with the customer. And that will reduce grievances and also build trust within the financial system. Then flexibility and adaptability. The system, agency banking as a whole, is designed to be flexible and adaptable, to changing circumstances. We know from when agency banking started to today, the system has changed completely. We had the time where we don't even have POS. We have organizations like, I'm trying to remember their name, where you have to carry out agency banking from your desktop, and it has evolved. We have a time where the mobile money operators were the ones holding sway in the country. We had a time where it was the super agents. And we had a time where the commercial banks, every commercial bank was trying to give out POS there. And today we're in that time where microfinance banks are taking over, microfinance banks and fintechs are taking over. So what we are saying here is that the market is flexible. The market is changing, and even the customer demands are changing. There was a time when if you carry out a transaction, if you carry out 10 POS transactions, there's a high likely chance that 5 will fail. But today, you could experience 99.9% delivery level. So the market is changing, technology is changing. So also, agent bankers have to adapt to the changing needs of customers, the demand for better quality service from customers. So we have to always adapt. Then termination and renewal. Most agents banking agreement outlines conditions for termination. So if If you fail in certain areas or if you're in breach of certain regulations, the financial institutions can terminate, your service with them. Or if the relationship or the agreement have specific timeline, you can also, at the expiration of that agreement, there's opportunity for renewal. So we have come to the end of the first section. And just to recap, we discussed the overview of agent banking. We mentioned that agent banking is a transformative service strategy that leverages third-party agents to extend financial services to underserved populations. We also talked about the legal basis. We said the CBN hinges on the BOFIA Act to be able to issue guidelines and regulations to financial institutions to ensure that the integrity of financial services in the country are intact. We also looked at key definitions where we talked about, we defined agent banking. We talked about super agents, agents and the sub-agents and the financial institutions. And then we talked about the agent banking regulations. We talked about, that's the last part we discussed now, the agent banking relationships. So now we will move to the next session, which is licensing and registration. So please don't forget, if you have any question, please write them down. If you can remember the section where the question is coming from, that will also be very good. Okay. So we want to look at the license and registration. What are the criteria for licensing? And this is specifically to super agents that are up there. The regular agent do not require licensing, but at the introductory part of this program, I mentioned to you that it is important for you to know the licensing criteria. Who knows, tomorrow you might want to set up a super agent, or you want to join friends, in setting up a super agent. Or somebody can even consult you as a consultant to say, please, you've been in this agency banking for long. I want to set up a super agent. Can you help us set up? At least you have the knowledge, you can study more and deliver that services. So what are the criteria for licensing? The first is financial stability. Because for you to obtain license for agent banking in Nigeria, the minimum capital requirement. So either as an existing financial institution that, let's say you're a microfinance bank and you want to obtain the agent banking license. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you, sir.
Yeah, we can.
Okay, please.
You are breaking. You are breaking.
Okay.
Yes, it's
Yeah,
breaking.
I noticed that, but the internet, is it stable now?
Still breaking, sir.
Okay, what do we do? I think the internet was unstable, but right now it's stable now. So I'm surprised you still can't hear me clearly.
It's good now,
We can
sir.
hear you. We can hear you, sir.
Okay, thank you. So I was talking about financial stability, and then my internet became unstable. Sorry about that. So whether you're an existing institution or you are a brand new non-bank financial institution that want to obtain a license, you have to have financial capacity. That's no-brainer. Then operational capacity. You need to have the ability to establish and manage a network of agents effectively and efficiently. And that's why the CBN in their guidelines says for you to obtain a license, you should have at least 50 agents. So you see, this even puts some of you that have the capacity and a good advantage, I know there are a lot of a lot of agent bankers that have 20 sub-agents under them, 50 sub-agents under them. You know, if you have that, you've already met some certain criteria of obtaining a license direct from CBN if you want to, you know. And then the next point there is technological infrastructure. Do you have the technology, you know, to be able to provide agency banking service? Because technology is critical. Otherwise, people will carry out transaction, your POS, it will be buffing, it's not moving, or transaction keeps failing. But luckily these days, you don't have to build your technology from the scratch. You can just subscribe or what they call rental. So you approach a technology company that provide that service for you. That is technology software as a service. You just plug in and play. And then compliance track record. This is especially for financial institutions that have already been existing. You need to prove that you have a good track record of compliance. And also risk management protocol. Some of the documents that you'll be asked to submit is a comprehensive risk management, enterprise risk management framework, you know, to show that you are able to manage the risks associated with agency banking. We all know that technology fraud is very high. The banks are losing probably billions of nairas annually due to technology fraud. Then the registration process for agency banking, it requires you to submit an application, and then the CBN will look at your application, and then they will conduct a due diligence to see that, in fact, that due diligence is going to be very thorough, you know, to ensure that you meet some of the issues that we raised earlier, like the financial stability, compliance, and other things. And then once you complete that due diligence process, you get approval, and upon, you know, once you get approval, the next thing is for you to start the agent banking, agent onboarding. Now, don't forget, when I say due diligence and then I jump to approval and license, between due diligence and approval and license, you have to pay the minimum capitalization, you have to pay the registration fees, you know, the CBN can visit your office location to ensure that you meet all the criteria. And this takes a lot of times. If you are lucky, you get it in 6 months, but sometimes most people are not lucky enough. You know, so the due diligence is quite comprehensive. They also want to know the source of funding to be sure that you didn't get these funds through illicit means. There are no terrorists funding your financial institutions and all of that. Then compliance requirements. Now, for you to ensure compliance with regulatory guidelines, let me put it this way, it is very important for you to comply with regulatory guidelines for you to be able to operate agency banking successfully in Nigeria. Now, the first thing we want to look at for you to be able to comply is agent selection and management. Under agent selection and management, some of the institution is, remember the CBN before issuing the license carried out a due diligence on you. So it's the same way before a financial institution or a super agent, you know, accepts an agent, he needs to carry out due diligence on that agent, carry out training and certification. In fact, under the due diligence, I know we don't do it now. One of the things that is expected is to even do a check on credit bureau to be sure that you don't have a history of financial mismanagement or a history of borrowing and not paying. You know, because we want to bring such people with such bad financial character into the financial system. Then training and certification. Every financial institution is expected to train the agents, then institution to monitor and supervise the agents and grievance redress redressal, the system of mechanism in place to ensure that customers can prompt. And then
Hello, sir. You're
for
breaking again, sir.
okay, just a minute. Let me change my internet. Can you hear me?
We can hear you, sir, but it's still kind of breaking, sir.
Oh, hello, can you hear me?
Okay, it's fine now, sir.
Yeah, we can hear you, sir.
I just changed. Okay. Thank
But
you.
it's still breaking.
So okay, let's push through. If you can hear me, let's proceed. I was talking about grievance redressal, and then now we're talking about service offerings and limit. Again, compliance requirements related to service offerings and limits are designed to protect financial institutions and customers. We all know, I don't know, I can hear somebody talking at the background.
I've muted
If
the
you can
button,
just
sir. Go on,
mute.
sir.
Hello,
Okay.
sir.
So,
We didn't hear the.
so,
Go on, sir.
okay. So, in terms of service offerings and limits, the first thing that we need to look at is authorized transactions. That means agents can only carry out specific transactions that are authorized by the guideline. It means that you cannot carry out transactions that are not authorized, because the CBN guideline is very clear about what transactions that you can carry out and the ones you can't. There's a section in this presentation where we'll look at the permissible activities and the non-permissible activities. So I'm not going to dwell much on that here. Then the second one is transaction limits. Remember, we are talking about compliance requirements. All of these are compliance requirements that super agents, financial institutions, and the agents must comply with. We talked about the agent selection and management, and now we are talking about service offerings and limits. And I've mentioned authorized transactions, which I said we will discuss in detail in the section where we'll be talking about the permissible and non-permissible activities. Now, the next point is transactions limit. Even in our commercial bank accounts, you want to carry out online transactions from your app. Most people have transaction limit of 1 million naira, some 5 million naira, for corporate institutions, some 10 million and some 100 million. So there's always a limit, and that is to protect both the financial institution and the customer, to be sure that people cannot just come on and carry out a 1 billion naira transaction, So according to the regulation, there have to be a limit, and that limit is usually specified by the financial institution to the agent. And it means that, fortunately, because of technology, that is easily regulated. If you attempt to carry out transaction above that limit, it will not go. Though we have seen agents bypassing those compliance by asking the customer to transfer the money to their account while they give them the cash. Again, you are putting yourself at risk. I've seen situation. I also used to be in the field where we have over 50 agents that were working under us. One of our agents accepted transfer from a customer, and I'm sure you are familiar with most of this kind of stories. And then he gave the guy cash. That means after that transaction, there's no history. He doesn't have any connection with the guy again. So when he went to the bank to get some cash for his to increase his float, they just asked him to sit down in one corner and wait. And the next thing, they brought police, and then they arrested him. And then we were called upon. Invariably, the person that transferred the funds to him hacked into someone's account and transferred the money to him and then collected cash. So we had to go there, explain, write statement. He was released, but he lost the money, because they have to pay back the person's account that was hacked. So these are things, because most times as agent, we just want to charge the customer more. Okay, for me to do this 2 million transaction, you pay me 50,000. And the person, no problem. It's not this money. So please be careful with such things. And then transparent pricing. I said earlier in the course of this presentation that pricing is not transparent. People charge different prices. Naturally, you are supposed to have like a signboard in front of you and said, transactions, this is what you pay for deposit. This is maybe deposit is free, withdrawal between 1,000 to 10,000, XYZ amount and all of that. But we don't practice it. But that is what compliance means. You need to have transparent pricing. That's why when you go to the ATM machine to withdraw cash, it's the same across board. If you are withdrawing from other banks, the same fee that is applicable to Access is the same fee that is applicable across all the other ATM. But in agent banking, we are not transparent with our pricing. But for us to comply, then we have to be transparent with our pricing. Then the last part is technology infrastructure. Reliable connectivity is critical. Secure platforms that people cannot easily hack. That's also important. Then interoperability. It means that for you to be an agent banker, your platform should be interoperability. It means it will be able to send money to different financial institutions. You can't just say it's OP to OP or MoneyPoint to MoneyPoint. No. And that is why in any of those platforms you can transact to any other platform within the country. Then let's look at security measures. Compliance in terms of security measures. One is biometric authentication. One of the things that we should consider is biometric authentication. We have POS now that comes with biometric authentication, but I've not really been seeing them in the market where I need to put my fingerprints to carry out a transaction. But the second one is transaction authorization. It means every customer, must enter his PIN to be able to carry out the transaction. And then data encryption, that means every data is encrypted, end-to-end encryption, so there's no leakage. It means if I punch in my password in your POS machine, you cannot go back and see that password. Your POS will not be able to read and store my card details. At the end of the transaction, it ends there. The entire data is encrypted. And even at the back end, from the commercial bank perspective, they will not be able to see my password that I punch in. So these are regulatory issues that every technology that you are deploying for this must meet this minimum standard. And of course, very important is fraud prevention. Like things like transaction monitoring, maybe anomaly detection. So if a transaction is looking funny, the technology should be able to flag it and report it to the relevant risk management department. So we have come to the end of section 2 and some of the things that we discussed there. were like criteria for licensing. We discussed the criteria for license. We talked about the registration process for agent banking. We also discussed the compliance requirement. And then under compliance requirements, we talked about the agent selection and management. We talked about the service offerings and limits. We talked about technology infrastructure. And then just the last thing we discussed was security measures. So please don't forget, if you have any question, just note them down and we will attend to them. I don't know, Mr. Sunday, if because we are almost on top of the hour, if we want to take a 5 minutes break so that people can stretch their leg, is that okay? Or you want us to just push through?
You will suggest
Hello,
5 minutes
Mr.
break,
Sunday?
so we can go with that, sir.
Yes, I think so. Because, you know, I'm the only one talking, so people will not doze on their system. So let's take a 5 minutes break. We'll be here by 2 minutes after 11. We will continue.
All right, sir.
Okay, thank you. So, I don't know, am I the one that put those lines on the screen or from where? I'm seeing certain lines on the screen. Right? Sunday,
Yes.
can you explain
Yeah,
that?
I can see that also. I think someone can do that.
So how come they have the access and the rights to do that, to draw the screen? How do we take it out? Wow. Is it Antonia? Igwe Antonia? Okay. Okay. Yeah, Israel. Thank you. Oh, thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, you can go
Okay.
on, sir.
So we want to look at, yes, thank you. Thank you for that. We want to look at section 3, which is the regulatory framework. You know, agent banking in Nigeria operates within a robust regulatory framework, not just agent banking, the entire financial system. And that framework is designed to ensure the effective and secure provision of financial services through third-party agents. And in this section, we are going to look at the role that the Central Bank of Nigeria is playing to ensure that we have effective agency banking compliance within the existing laws and regulation. So we will quickly look at understanding of the regulatory landscape in Nigeria. Here we said agent banking in Nigeria is subject to complex financial regulations and specific guidelines. And this regulatory oversight involves multiple bodies, including, like we said earlier, the Central Bank and the Communications Commission. While Central Bank is regulating the financial aspects, the Communication Commission is looking at the infrastructure aspects, like the telecom that provides the platform for us to be able to carry out agency banking. And the aim is to create a secure and conducive environment for sustainable growth. Now, what are the roles of the central bank in all of this? Again, during the introductory section, we mentioned that based on the Buffer Law, the CBN formulates guidelines and regulations. So one of the critical roles of the Central Bank of Nigeria within the regulatory space is what? Guideline formulation. It is the central bank that is tasked with formulating and updating guidelines. So they don't just formulate, they also ensure that as the market is changing, due to its dynamic nature, the central bank will continue to update those guidelines. Then license and approval. It is the central bank that approves the license for financial institutions that are seeking to engage in agency banking. And that process of seeking license must be approved by the Central Bank of Nigeria. Then the central bank is also responsible for oversight and monitoring to ensure that the financial sector is stable, or there's financial stability, within the agency banking ecosystem. So the central bank carries out oversight and also ensure that there's monitoring of agent banking activities in the country. Then capacity building. The CBN also may engage in initiatives to build the capacity of financial institutions. Sometimes the CIBN can partner with the central bank, and sometimes the central bank on its own can get training institutes to ensure that the industry is well trained, or the industry have the requisite capacity or the personnel to be able to function. Then compliance with laws and regulation. Now, this is very critical to this course that we are taking, because we are talking about agency banking laws and regulation. Initially, I mentioned the BOFIA law that the central bank hinges on to provide guidelines and regulations. So financial institutions and their agents must comply with a myriad of regulations, including but not limited to one, the BOFIA compliance. So we must comply with the BOFIA Act. The next one is the consumer protection laws. There are laws specifically for consumer protection. You can go there, you can just Google them and you download those consumer protection laws if they interest you, and then you read more about the consumer protection laws. And then we have the AML CFT regulations, which is AML is anti-money laundering, and then the CFT is combating the financing of terrorism. There are regulations for it, because we have discovered that a lot of money laundering takes place via agent platforms. People can do so many transactions that are not seen by the central bank, or that cannot be traced to the agent, and they can use multiple agents to carry out such transactions. So there's a specific regulation for that. Again, I'm sure you can download it. Just Google the AML CFT regulations, and then you will see a copy. If it interests you, if it is necessary for you, you can read it. But you should know that there are such regulations. Somebody should not use you to launder money. Then another area we need to comply with is disclosure. I've said earlier, agents must display important service information on their premises. For example, as an agent, are you a money point agent, or are you a pay agent, or any other agent? Display it, display the kind of services you are offering. What are the fees that you are charging? Let there be full disclosure of your activity, so that if anything goes wrong, we know that, okay, this one is XYZ agent, and these are basic information that we have about that agent, Then branding and advertisement. While financial institutions have discretion in branding their agent network services, you must adhere to guidelines set by the central bank. You have to avoid using certain words. For example, you cannot use the word bank, financial institution, financial intermediation, you can't use those words. You don't put your agency banking sign word and make it look like bank. That means you are misrepresenting or misleading the general public. So as part of the regulatory compliance, you must avoid using such things while you are branding your agent location or while you are making some adverts. Then compliance as it regards dispute resolution. Agents and the financial institutions must work together to settle all disputes amicably. We've discussed this earlier, and this have to be done within 10 business days. Of course, if you fail to do so, they can refer this to an arbitration panel and all of that. I know most of the time we don't get to those levels, but God help you, your customer reports you to the Consumer Protection Department. The bank can be fined to some extent. And these days we have advocates who are fighting for people who have been cheated, or I think that may not be the right word, but people who have felt cheated, they are advocates. They approach those advocates who will go and fight the cause for them and make sure that they are well compensated. So imagine if one of your customers happen to approach those advocates and then they get a ruling that you will pay XYZ amount to that customer. That's enough to close down your business. And then submission of statutory reports. For agents, it is important for you to submit those reports to your financial institution, and for financial institutions, they will definitely submit those statutory reports to the Central Bank of Nigeria. Again, most of those reports are done online and seamless, that sometimes even as agents, you don't know that your institution is getting all the data that is required. Now, let's quickly look at responsibilities of super agents. I don't know if we still remember what I told us who super agents are. I said they are agents that are a little bit higher than than your regular agents, and super agents supervise other agents under them. So the super agent shall monitor and monitoring and supervision of agents' activities, collect agent transaction data, monitor compliance, on-site visit where necessary. I think this is very clear. Then responsibilities of the financial institutions. Sometimes the financial institution, depending on the platform you're operating, they are similar with that of the super agent, because when you are operating through a super agent, you are not seeing the face of the financial institution. And when you have a financial institution directly giving you a POS and you're operating, then there's no super agent in between you. We have to understand that. So key responsibilities of the financial institution include the following: development of appropriate policies and procedures. These are internal policies and procedures. I know this may not, you may not be directly involved, but whatever policies and procedures they formulate affects you directly. Then periodic review of agent activity, risk management relating to agent activities, periodic training and financial education for agents to ensure effective service delivery to customers. Again, it's not happening. Thank God for FIC that is organizing those training to ensure that agents are properly trained. And I know this training is not going to end after the exam. You need to always come for refresher training. I don't know if it's going to be annually or once in 2 or 3 years. Emails will be sent to you and you just take some short courses just to refresh your memory, or maybe setting updates within the system, and you take those courses from time to time. Remember I told you we're going to talk about the permissible activities in detail, and here they are. So as agents, I wish this is an interactive class. We would have just gone through those things one by one, and then hearing from the agents what are the activities they carry out. But I'll just read them out for you. One is cash lodgement and withdrawal, what we call cash in, cash out, bill payments, including utility, taxes, tenement rates, and subscriptions. So all of those things are very basic because you just carry out the payment, on behalf of the customer and issue them the receipt. Salary payments, again, it depends. If as a private organization, I want to use an agent platform to push out my salaries, I can, because all I need to do is for the agent to credit each of those staff on my behalf. Then local fund transfers, that's seamless. Agents can always carry out those activities. Balance inquiry, mini account statements. Please don't forget that most of those permissible activities are as listed within the guideline, but different financial institutions will give different access to the agents. Collection and submission of account opening documents. So agents can collect account opening documents on behalf of the bank, issue it to customers complete it, and then agents return it to the financial institution. We've also seen at a point where you can directly from your app open a bank account for a commercial bank account for for your customers, but some banks decided to shut down that service. I don't know if there are banks that still allow it. Then mobile payment is also a permissible activities, cash disbursement and loan repayment. These are all payment services. Then payment of retirement benefits, request and collection of checkbooks, collection and delivery of customer correspondence to the financial institution. So these are all work of agent. You are just doing it. You collect from customers, you return to the bank, collect from the bank, you return to the customer. You are just a middleman carrying out those services. Then let's look at the, the prohibited activities. Conducting operations during a communication failure. So for example, there's no network and you still decide to carry out, somebody who wants to make deposit, you collect the deposit without actually crediting the person's account. Acknowledgement cannot be generated. It's important that you generate receipt, but we also know sometimes the papers could be expensive. So, but you need to show like an acknowledgement or
No, sir. We can't really
Your
hear you.
network is somehow breaking.
on your screen to show that the
We can't
transaction
hear
was
you.
success at the end of the transaction. But it should, oh my God. Okay. Hold on.
So we can't hear you completely.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, sir. It's okay now, sir.
Okay. Okay. Okay, so I was talking about the prohibited activities I mentioned earlier, that you should not conduct operations when there's no network. And also, you should not conduct transaction when you don't have receipts or the customer cannot acknowledge the transaction. I was saying that even if you don't have receipts, there should be a display on your screen to show that transaction was successful, and the customer should be able to get an alert for that. And then charging the customer any fee, which we have discussed here earlier, is prohibited. There should be a specified fee that you charge the customer. And then granting guarantees. Agent bankers cannot issue guarantees. Providing authorized banking services of its own accord. No, you cannot. Every service you are providing on behalf of a financial institution. Then continuing agency banking business in the event of a proven crime or any other financial impropriety on the part of the agent. So you have been proven to be a criminal in one way or the other, and probably your bank has stopped you as an agent and you still continue to carry out those transactions. It's not permitted. Then providing any banking services outside the permissible activities contracted within the financial institution. So at the point when you are engaged as an agent, there are a list of activities that you can carry out. Any activity that is not listed, carrying them out is prohibited. Then perform appraisal functions related to account opening and granting loans, except otherwise permitted by the Central Bank of Nigeria. Then process checks, deposit or enhance encashment of checks. You can't do that. Again, some of those things are not directly referring to an agent because it's even impossible for you to do them. But we're talking about agent bank, super agents that are licensed by the central bank. They also cannot carry out those transactions. Then process foreign currency transactions. It is not your duty to start doing bureau de change work. Offer cash advance services. You are not allowed to give out loans. Be affiliated or merged by the financial institution's employee or associates. Subcontract permissible activities to a third party to conduct agency banking operations on its behalf, except subcontracting within a super agent agreement. So what this means is that you're an agent, you're not even a super agent, and you now decided that someone else, you now give that right to some other people to also carry out those transactions without, recourse to the financial institution that set you up. Now, let's look at the supervision of agents. The financial institution must supervise agents, maintain transaction records, and ensure compliance with guidelines and limits. Again, technology has really gone to the extent that most of those financial institutions, they don't do on-the-spot supervision anymore, but they remotely monitor transactions, they watch out for any irregularities, and then they are able to manage the limits that are issued to those agents. Then the Central Bank of Nigeria may request information and conduct inspections. Effective risk management measures are crucial. Again, some of those things are just on paper because the central bank does not have enough staff to start monitoring, and they also do not have the capacity to go to agents directly. But however, inspectors always visit those financial institutions and super agents to ensure that they conduct on-the-spot assessment of those banks and financial institutions. Relocation, transfer, and closure of agents' premises. Agents need to inform the financial institution before changing or closing their premises. It means that you can't just shut down. You were in Gudu Junction, now you are now in Wuse 2. There was a time, I don't know if some of those POS still have that feature. Once you change your location, your system shouldn't work. So the bank will use that to maybe like geofencing your device so that you're not able to use it outside of the designated area. But what the regulation is saying is that you have to inform your financial institution before you change location. Then a copy of the notice should also be displayed in the public area. So where you were before, you need to put it there that I have moved. I'm no longer in Gudu Junction, but I'm now in Wuse 2. Then settlement of transfer and technology requirement. Agent must conduct all transactions in real time using advanced technology. We've talked about that. It means that when there is no network, you are not expected to carry out a transaction. They should also have access to their net settlement position for transaction reconciliation purposes. At every point in time, an agent should know what's their net settlement position. And then the technology provided by the financial institution must adhere to industry standards concerning both hardware and software. There are minimum standards that you have to adhere to as a financial institution. And that can be seen in page 18 of the agency banking guideline for detail. I'm sure that agency banking guideline has already been distributed to all of you. In case you don't have it, you can just Google it and you will see more details about this. So we've come to the end of section 3, and I will just quickly summarize what we have discussed. We talked about the regulatory landscape. We also talk about the specific rules of the central bank. We talk about compliance with laws and regulation. We talk about responsibilities of the super agents and the financial institutions. We talk about the settlement of transactions and technology requirements. That was the last thing we discussed a few seconds ago. So we are running out of time. We should go quickly. But the good news is we have covered the major areas regarding agent banking laws and regulations. So let's look at risk management. And this is also very important. Risk management is a critical component of agent banking operations, ensuring the secure and sustainable provision of financial services. And this section will provide detailed insight into risk management strategies, including risk identification and mitigation, fraud prevention measures, and dispute resolution mechanism. Not just in agency banking, the entire financial industry, is exposed to a lot of risks. It is, if you are not able to manage risks, then you will go down. The difference between a performing bank and a non-performing bank is effective risk management. It's the same thing with an agent banking operator. If you manage your risks effectively, you will prosper, you will survive, you will succeed. If you have poor risk management attitude, then you will go out of business as quickly as possible. So let's quickly look at some of the key risk matrices. Identifying and mitigating risks. We have identified some risks here. Again, please, this is not exhausting. We just pick a few that we feel about 6 of them here that we feel are important to you. But if you want to know more about risk management, I'm sure you will attend that class to get full details. So we have 6 risks here. We have the operational risks, the credit risks, the compliance risks, the strategic risks, the market risks, and the reputational risks. For the operational risks, these are risks that are associated with the day-to-day operations, which include agent activities, technology failure, and process inefficiencies. It's a big risk because if someone comes to withdraw money from you, and every time they put their card and it fails, and then they go to the next agent operator there and it's successful. So these are operational risks that can chase customers away from you, give you more liability, the frequency of time you go to the bank to resolve issues instead of carrying out your business. So if there are ways you can, it is not a matter of if, you just have to manage those operational risks and ensure that you're operating efficiently and you are making profit at the end of the day. Then credit risk. This is to look at the creditworthiness of customers. Again, this really doesn't affect the core agent bankers. But if you're a super agent, it becomes important because most of the super agents now can provide credit to their agents. So you need to know the creditworthiness of those agents for you to give them that overnight credit. Maybe in the morning by 8 a.m., I give you a 500,000 naira loan. And then in the evening by 9 p.m. when you're closing, you are able to pay back, to the super agent to help your cash flow because you've proven that you are able to carry out a lot of transactions for the day. So in situations like that, the super agent have to evaluate the creditworthiness of that agent. But for agents, you don't give credit to customers. So this may not be too applicable to you directly. Then compliance risks. We've talked so much about compliance. So every failure to comply is a risk. And let me give you a very common one. We said here that you should there should be full disclosure, including pricing, which we don't do. It's a risk that we are getting away with. It's like driving without seatbelt. Nothing will happen to you, when you drive without seatbelt. But God forbid, the day it will happen, you will fly through the windscreen. So they say every day for the thief, one day for the owner. So that we are getting away with compliance risks doesn't mean that the risk does not exist. So this is something that we should assess very well and see what's the level of our level of risk tolerance in this area. Then strategic risk. This is evaluating risks related to strategic direction of agent banking, market dynamics, and competition to make informed decision. If you take note, most of the agent bankers that were operating at a certain time, they no longer exist. They were big, and then I don't want to call names, some popular ones, and then they just vanish because they don't have good strategy. They didn't look at the changing dynamics of the market, and they didn't adjust to meet the competition that was coming. And today, there are some operators that have taken over the market and chased out even the big boys, or giving them a run for their money. So even as a little agent operating by the junction or within a kiosk, you have to be strategic in everything you do so that some other agents will not come around you and take over the market. And that is one reason why you have decided to attend this class, to be sure that you are up to date. Then market risks, assessing risks associated with changes in market conditions, customer preferences, and external factors that may impact success of agent banking. This is not just for agent, any business you do, the market risks are always there, and is another area you should look at very well. There are reputational risk. If every time you are quarreling with customers, or anytime they have transaction failure, you are not able to take care of them, your reputation is getting bad. So people will always say that, hey, that man is not a good man, don't go there. Even though you don't have a brand name, your reputation as an agent is already at risk. And it's the same thing with the financial institution. You don't want to deal with them because they have bad reputation. So these are risks we feel strongly that every agent and the financial institutions engaged in agent banking should manage. And I'm sure some of you here are working with other commercial banks that provide agency banking or microfinance banks that are operating within the agency banking space. Now, let's look at fraud prevention briefly. Fraud prevention is critical in agent banking, and key measures include addressing potential vulnerabilities in digital financial transactions. One of the things you can do is biometric authentication. Again, we've talked about this before. We now have POS that have biometric authentication. We also have the facial ID. I know these days, if you go to the ATM and you want to make transaction, it will say that it's not able to process your face. So you have to look at the camera briefly and then look back at the screen for you to be able to carry out transaction, because the system wants to record your face and be able to, to establish that you are the one that carried out that transaction at that specific time. Then transaction monitoring. You have to continuously monitor transactions for unusual patterns or anomalies, and this can be done through systems, because it will be too overwhelming for an individual to continue doing those monitoring. But as an agent, you need to watch out, because people come to you directly to carry out transactions. You need to watch out and see unusual transactions. There could be a specific person that is always coming to your agent point and carrying out specific transactions in a particular manner. It's something that you can report, please report. Then consumer education or customer education, as the case may be. You have to educate customers about common fraud schemes, so that they don't fall victim. We know it's not easy, but you can just engage customers on conversations as they're withdrawing money. I want to withdraw 10,000, you collect their card, but you're also telling them, you're talking to them, you're engaging them, you're telling them that last week there's a customer that just entered their PIN carelessly, and then somebody saw it, and then maybe they snap her card and steal their money. You're already communicating, you're educating those customers, as many as you can, in your little way, And of course, we know that there are lots of adverts there by the financial institution educating customers, either online or on their websites or even on televisions, that we should not click certain links. But it's also important at our level to educate our customers to the extent that we can. Then secure technology, for those who work in financial institutions, this is critical. Then for the agents, please work with financial institutions that you are sure the technology is secure. But I know for now, all the service providers have secure technology because they must have met the minimum standard of the central bank. Then dispute resolution, we touched it earlier, but let's just go a little bit deeper. Key consideration for dispute resolutions include clear communication, transparent processes, grievance redress mechanisms, documentations and record, and then regulatory compliance. What we are saying here is, particularly on the clear communication, you have to communicate clearly to your customers where there are disputes. Tell them, okay, this is the situation. This is what my bank is doing, and this is what you should do. Clearly communicate to them, and this will help customers to have confidence in you, and they'll be able to know that effort is being made to resolve their issues. Then for transparent processes, clearly define dispute resolution process. You have to define it. It is not when it's happening, that's when you now want to go and start looking for ad hoc solutions. No, there should be a clear dispute resolution process, end to end, how you will handle it. And also the grievance redress mechanisms, there should be a standard procedure you follow to have grievances redressed. Most organizations have grievance redressal mechanisms on their website. So if you have issues, you go to their website and then you log in. So even as an agent, you could just have a little form or whichever way you want to do, or you have that understanding with your service provider like the commercial bank, so that whenever there is a grievance, you just quickly follow the process to resolve this. Because in this case, you are speaking on behalf of your customers, and you should be aware of those grievance redress mechanisms that have been set up by your financial institution. Then documentation and records. It is important to maintain comprehensive documentation and records of transactions, communication, and dispute resolutions, helps. It is very important for you to keep records of those things. And by keeping record, you are also seeing the pattern of the dispute. Sometimes they could just go the same direction. Most of the disputes is the same thing that's happening over and over again. But if you don't keep record of them, there's no way you will know that this is the same dispute that is repeating itself. And once you see a pattern, it becomes easy for you to resolve future disputes. Then the last one is regulatory compliance, which is crucial to ensure that dispute resolution process align with regulatory requirements. You don't want to resolve disputes outside of the stated regulatory compliance documentation. So we've come to the end of risk management, which is chapter 4. And just to summarize, we started by identifying some of the risks. We talked about the operational risks, the credit risks, which I said is more applicable to the super agents. And then we talked about the compliance risks. We talked about the strategic risks, market risks, and reputational risks, which can damage your reputation as a business. We talked about fraud prevention measures. We talked about dispute resolution. And yeah, I think that was all we discussed in chapter 4. We still have time, so we will quickly proceed to chapter 5, which is consumer protection. Please, if you have any question, don't forget to note it down. We'll be running up quickly. So consumer protection is very important in agency banking because we deal with consumers every day. And I tell you, most of the time, there are a lot of aggrieved consumers, people do transactions. In fact, some people have even lost their money permanently. I have also lost my money where I carry out transaction and then they asked me to go to my bank and then I was too busy to go to the bank. And then at the point I forgot, and then it became several days are gone, and the POS agent could not help me, and somehow I just forgot about it. You know, some people will not forget about it; they will fight for it. You know, so here we say consumer protection is vital in agency banking. It includes treating customers fairly, safeguarding their rights, and providing a way to make complaints. There are some websites you do an activity, you carry out an activity and you got stuck. You don't even have a platform to make a complaint. You don't even have somebody to call. And for a regulated sector, it shouldn't be that way. So this section will cover aspects such as consumer rights, transparent pricing, and effective grievance redressal. So ensuring customers' rights. Agents must adhere to principles that safeguard the interests and rights of customers, and these include privacy and data security, fair treatment, non-discrimination, informed decision-making. Now, concerning privacy and data security, we know most agents operate within a locality. It means that everybody knows each other within that environment.
Can't hear you.
Yeah, I noticed that. What about now?
I can hear you, sir.
Can hear
Okay,
you,
is it
sir.
clear? Okay, okay. So I was saying, yeah, we're talking about to ensure customers' rights, and we're talking about privacy and data security. And I said most POS operators or most agent bankers, but I'm not referring to the ones in public places, but you even the ones in markets, you know, it's like a captive market where most people know each other. So you have to protect the privacy of that client. Imagine you discussing a client and say, maybe a friend of yours visited you and in your shop and you're talking, you see that man, every day, the man, they deposit 5.5 million naira. Or the man, every day, his withdrawal is not less than 2 million naira. That man get money, no be small thing. Now, I'm just bringing it to the most basic level for us. Even for that, it means that you have failed to uphold the privacy of that customer. You see, your relationship with the customer is like that of a doctor and a patient relationship, where the doctor cannot disclose your health status to any other person. It's the same thing as a financial institution. You know, someone else cannot go to my bank and say, what is my account balance? So don't think because we are agent bankers, that does not affect us. Please, you have to uphold the privacy and ensure that ensure the data security of those customers. Please, when you use their card, don't look into their PIN. Ensure that they are safe. You know, they're putting their PIN safely, and none of their card details is being how will I put it, withheld. We've had stories of where some POS operators, I don't know if those things are true, we see them online. You know, you need to understand the technology to see how it will work. That once you put in the card and you enter you enter your PIN, there's something they will press and it will store certain data. I don't know how true it is. I really don't know. But if it is true, then that will be a technology failure. Then the next one is fair treatment. Customers should be treated fairly and without discrimination, whether they are Muslim, Christian, women, male, you know, whatever it is, they should be treated fairly. And again, non-discrimination, whatever it is, please, there's no discrimination in the agency banking space. And then, of course, informed decision-making. Informed decision-making is made possible when customers are able to receive clear and accurate information about the services offered. Because if they are not clear about the services offered, they will not be able to make a decision. I want to withdraw 10,000 naira. Your charges is 400 naira. It is not after you just collect their card and punch in 10,400 naira. And then they receive a lot of 10,400. And then they complain, why are you charging me 400? Maybe 200 naira. And you say, okay, now 400 naira me they charge. And at that point, can the customer still make a decision? No, because you have already debited the customer and the cash has already been given. So Then the next one is transparent pricing. We have overflogged this transparent pricing. So it's important, if we can, to ensure that there's a clear fee structure, there's disclosure of cost, there's comparability, of services that you're offering. So this is very important for us to do. I know we don't do that, but right now we are scaling up. We are no longer going to be that roadside agent. We are becoming big. Some of us are already big. We want to be professional. So let's have transparent pricing. Then grievance redress mechanism. We've talked about it slightly before. Key elements of a grievance redress mechanisms include designated contact point. Who will they call if there are issues? Timely response. How many hours or how many days will it take for you or for your financial institutions to respond to those issues? Investigation and resolution. Is there a structured process for investigation and resolving those issues or those claims that the customers are bringing? Then consumer education or customer education. Is there a system to educate the customer to say that, okay, this transaction, this issues you are having, this is the standard procedure. Let them, sometimes those grievances, they really have nothing to be grievance about. It's not the fault of the agent, it's not the fault of the financial institution. It's because the customer is not educated about it. So by educating the customer, you also have less challenge. And of course, we will always end up by saying regulatory compliance, that your grievance redress mechanism must align with regulatory requirement. Then agents training programs. Again, we can't overemphasize that. Training and retraining of agents. It's important, and the training should also cover operational guidelines, customer service training, technology usage, risk management, and compliance awareness. All of these are things. But for the purpose of this class, compliance awareness is critical, and the operational guideline for agents to be able to be aware about regulatory issues. So we've come to the end of section 5, and we'll quickly just summarize them. We discussed the customer rights. We talked about transparent pricing. We talked about grievance redress mechanisms. We talked about agent training program, and we talked about consumer protection. Now we want to discuss monitoring and evaluation. Now, monitoring and evaluation are crucial for effective governance and performance assessment in agency banking. And this section is going to cover CBN's oversight, reporting requirements, and key performance metrics. Now, I promised us at the beginning that we'll look at some of those key performance metrics, though some of them might not affect you directly because that's, for the agents, but for those who are working with financial institutions or super agents, I think this might concern you directly. So key aspects of the CBN oversight role include guideline formulation, which we've talked about before, licensing and approval, continuous monitoring and regulatory updates. And then these are the reporting requirements. Transaction, excuse me, transaction reports, financial statements, excuse me, financial statements, compliance reports, and agent performance report. These are some of the things that the CBN is always requiring. They have standard templates on how you can send in those reports, and most of those reports are done online. Then these are the performance evaluation metrics, and it includes transaction volume and value. So what is the quantity or the volume of transaction? Was it 1 million transactions? And then what's the value? Is it 1 billion naira? So let's say, for example, the bank had 1 million transactions valued at 1 billion naira. The CBN is interested in seeing that. And that is why CBN can come up with data and tell us the total transactions done by POS operators in the country. And when they see the volume is increasing, they now said, okay, every POS operator must pay tax. Then customer acquisition and retention. The CBN is interested in seeing the trajectory of customer acquisition and retention by the agent bank. And then they will aggregate that information and make some strategic national decision. The agent network expansion, they want to see the level of agent network expansion. Today, we know that we have over 1.5 million POS out there in the market. So the CBN is interested in tracking the expansion of the agent network over time, to indicate the scalability and accessibility of agent banking services in the country. And then risk management effectiveness, CBN will also want to monitor that. Then financial inclusion impacts. In fact, this is critical. The CBN wants to see the impact. They want to evaluate the impact of agent banking on financial inclusion metrics to see if it is actually effective, if it's something that the CBN should continue to support and promote. And then technology uptime and reliability. Those metrics can be monitored remotely to see what's the uptime of each of those technology. Uptime is anytime you insert the POS into a card into your POS, is it delivering? Anytime you do a direct transfer, what's the chances that a transaction will fail? And what's the chances that a transaction will go on smoothly? So these are some of the things that the CBN is tracking. And the reason for tracking those things is to improve the processes over time. And we can see that agent banking processes, particularly in terms of technology, has improved significantly. So we have come to the end of this session. In conclusion, we said agent banking in Nigeria is leading the way in financial inclusion initiatives, thanks to a dynamic regulatory framework, technology advancement, and a commitment to empowering communities. Like we said, even in the remotest of communities today, there are POS operators in those places, and transactions are going on smoothly without failure. And the collaboration between regulators, financial institutions, agents, and technology providers will continue to shape the future of agent banking, resulting in positive economic and social transformation across the country. And as the industry evolves, it is crucial to maintain ongoing compliance, consumer protection, and innovation to fully realize the potential of agency banking in Nigeria. And I'm so glad that we have a new set of leaders, about 30 of you here, that will become certified again in the April examination. And we are optimistic that you will be able to pass and move on to the next level if you want to. This is not, I don't know which level you are, which level of the exams you are writing, but I'm sure whatever the level is, you'll be able to, I think I have network issues again. You'll be able to get to the final stage and become core professionals. I will say thank you. Sorry, I've taken longer than I thought I would, and I had to rush towards the end. So thank you. I'm open to take your questions and hopefully provide as much answers as possible. Thank you.
Thank you, Doctor, sir. Thank you for your time, sir. So please, anyone who has question, please raise up your hand so to be organized. So just raise up your hand, go to the, click on the react button, raise up your hand, then I call one by one, then you ask your questions, please. Is there anyone with question? Okay, Mr. Emmanuel, you first, please. Mr. Emmanuel Adeleye.
Yeah, good morning, everybody.
Good morning.
All right, yeah. First of all, I want to appreciate our doctor, the training this morning is an eye-opening personally for me. And, you know, they said if you are given a task, you ask for the resources. You understand? So I guess some of the resources needed for me to, function well as an agent manager, like agency banking guy. I think I've gotten, if not all, at least 60%. And in terms of compliance, aside running this agency banking business, I let me say, I'm aware about it because I work in another organization, a fintech organization. So most of the times, like quarterly, we have all these compliance training and all. So I'm much more familiar with them. But in terms of the rules and the guidelines for the agency banking. I think the doctor has said much of it, and it's a good thing for me to know that these are the ways. So my question is, sometimes ago, somebody came and do a transaction, not with me, but with one of my my boy that is helping me to manage the business. So the boy mistakenly transferred the money to another account instead of, let's say, PAMPay. The money was transferred to GT. So luckily for me, I know somebody that like from the BLT side, I do my cash collection from to run my business. I contacted the person, and the person is much more familiar with these GT people around my location. So he gave me a contact. I contacted the person. I went to meet the person, and they said they will help me and call the customer. Although I lodged the complaint on my app on the dispute side. After doing that, they were telling me that they will have to contact the bank if the customer gave the fee and they go ahead to deduct the money and all, and which is taking time. Imagine losing over 200,000 or more than to just one account, trying to transfer to a customer's account and another person's account, as in like a wrong an erroneous transaction. So when that was done, I went to the bank, I complained. The bank said, okay, they will contact the person. They contacted the person. Out of the money, I was able to, let me say, retrieve or give him back 70% of the money. The money is actually 150 or so, or more than. And the person gave back not even up to 100,000. So it's quite annoying. I told the guy that was helping me, I was like, it's a favor that it was not supposed to be like that. That I will have to give the person that has the account as in time for the person to pay back the balance, since the person has promised to pay back the balance. How can someone handle this kind of situation? That's my question. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much. The good thing about those kind of questions is that most of us have also had those experiences where you erroneously transfer money to a different account. I think you did all the right things by reporting on the app and also approaching the bank to resolve that issue. But what I would have done differently was to request that that customer's account be blocked, and then I will get a court order to say that I erroneously transferred this money to a client, and that the client's account should be monitored, and any money that come in there should be paid back to me. And then the court will give me that order, which I will take to the bank, authorizing the bank to ensure that any funds that come into the account is being reversed to me, because the bank, the bank do not have any rights to go to the customer's account. Remember, we just talked about privacy right now. They do not have any right to go to the customer's account to do, there's a word for it, for them to reverse that transaction. Excuse me.
I was told that, sorry, sir.
They're not able to do that chargeback, they're not able to do the chargeback directly because it was a transfer that you did. Go ahead, you said that you were told what?
Yeah, I went to the bank and I told them I requested that the account should be blocked so that any money that comes into the account, the person will not have access to it. Then when the person is maybe probably visited the bank, then we can have one-on-one conversation. But they said they can't do that, that it's against them, that they cannot
Yeah,
block
so
the person.
that's what I'm telling you. If you get a court order, I just mentioned that the banks do not have the right to tamper with the customer's account. But if you get a court order, right? So once you get a court order, and this has happened to me as a person, when I transferred money to someone, and then I had to go get a court order, and then the bank, blocked the person's account, that is put post no debit, and then when money entered the account, they just refunded my money 100%. So I think that's my advice in case of next time. Yes, I think we have Messi Jim, right? Messi Jim.
Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon.
Yeah, I want to say thank you for the lecture. Just that the network, the bridge of network, just let us get it clearly. So I want to ask a question. I don't know if you can hear me, sir.
Yes, I can hear you. Go ahead.
Okay. Like 2 days ago, somebody transferred 14,000 account, US account. He sent me the proof of debit alert, but I can't find that money account. So what am I supposed to do?
I think that's a straightforward answer. You can't honor it until you see the transaction, because I have also sent money from my account to someone and I was debited, but the person did not get the value. So I had to go and complain to my bank, and the next day because after 20, I was expecting a reversal after 24 hours. I didn't get a reversal. So, but when I complained to my bank, they reversed the money to me, and then I paid the person again. So in most cases, the money will reverse back to the beneficiary. But as a rule of thumb, you don't pay out funds that you have not seen value. No, you don't do that.
Okay.
All right. So we have another hand there. I'm not. It's just E. Who is E? Just E.
The second. Hello, sir.
Yes.
I have second question, sir.
Okay. Please let's make those questions because we're out of time now. Yes. Go ahead.
Okay. So now the second question is, sometimes customer will transfer money to you and you receive it, but sometimes the money will reverse. So what's your advice concerning that? Maybe if that money is a huge money now, the person sends it to receive it after a while, so reverse. How can
You
you?
mean you have received? Yeah, you have received the money already in your account and you have value. You can see it on your app, and the money reversed again.
Yes.
Is anyone with that kind of experience here? Because I've never seen or heard of it where the money actually come in, you have confirmed it, and then the money reverse. I don't think I've come across that because the transaction is complete. You have gotten value. If you get value and your balance did not change, it means the value have not come in. But if you said you received value and your balance changed to the new balance and then it got reversed, I don't think I've had that experience. But let's ask the house. Do we have anyone who have experienced that?
All right.
No,
So
I'm not.
personally,
Okay.
I haven't, but my girl that works for me said she has had that kind of experience before. I'm not sure how true is that because I was not the one that it happens to, but saying that I felt a transaction cannot be completed and being reversed back again. It's strange. I don't know.
No, technology-wise, I don't think it's possible. But again, nothing is not possible in Nigeria, except I heard about people who are doing fake transfer. It could be a fake transfer. That's why we have to watch out. So you get the alert, but the fake transfer does not change your balance in the app. So sometimes you don't just rely on alerts alone. Particularly as an agent banker, you know that you are prone to fraud. So when you receive alert, you check on your app to see if the money is actually there. But if the money is there in your app, it can be reversed.
Okay.
All right,
Thank
thank
you,
you.
sir.
All right, E, please, let's ask your question.
Yeah, good day, everyone. So thank you
What's
for
your name?
Ebenezer.
Okay, E for Ebenezer.
Yes. So my question is basically about the exam now. So I want to ask, is the exam, will it be completely objective or mixture of both objective and theory?
Okay,
Okay, so yeah, okay, that's one
I'll
thing.
answer that, sir. So
Yeah.
the question is objective only, 50 questions. So I think next week we'll do an overview of how the exam will look like, sir. So next week, Saturday, we'll discuss how the exam will look like, the platform and everything, sir. So just hold on till next week, Saturday, then we'll discuss how the exam will look like, the format and everything, sir.
Okay, thank you very much.
Yes, sir.
Okay, I think Israel, we have come to the end of the class. There's no any other hand again.
All right, sir. Thank you very much, sir. Thanks for your time, sir.
Thank you very much, sir.
Yeah, welcome.
Have
You're
a
welcome.
wonderful day, sir.
And you
Thank
too.
you, sir. Have a blessed weekend.
Yeah,
Okay.
thanks.
Bless you too, sir.
Thank
Thank you
Thank
very
you,
much.
sir.
Thank you, everyone.
God bless
And
you.
thank you for the organizer.
Yes.
Thank
So,
you for everything. Appreciate it.
I would like to thank you to all of you for joining for this time. So, can we take 5 minutes break before the next facilitator comes in, or should we just continue?
5 minutes break.
Let's
Okay.
take 5 minute break.
All right. So we'll be back
Are we
in.
having another lecture?
Yes, I said it's 2 lectures. So this one was meant to end by 11:30, then 30 minutes break, started by 12. So we've
And the
used
other one is for how many hours?
1 hour 30 minutes also.
Hey. Wow.
Please, are you going to give us recording?
Yeah,
Because I can't
definitely,
sit for that
definitely.
again.
Recording, sir.
And maybe I should listen to the recording.